Question 1. Benchmark analysis indicates that a client requests a copy of a deposition video for use in a public presentation, stating it is for educational purposes. The CLVS is aware that the deposition contains sensitive information and potentially copyrighted material from exhibits presented during the testimony. The CLVS has not been provided with any explicit permission from the parties involved in the deposition or the court to distribute the video beyond its intended legal use. Option A. Seek clarification from the client regarding the specific nature of the public presentation and advise them to obtain written consent from the court and all parties for the distribution and use of the deposition video, especially concerning any exhibits. Option B. Provide the client with a copy of the deposition video, advising them to ensure their use complies with copyright laws and to consult with their attorney if unsure. Option C. Refuse to provide a copy of the deposition video, citing potential copyright infringement and the need for explicit authorization from all parties involved. Option D. Provide the client with a copy of the deposition video and inform them that the use of any exhibits within the video is their responsibility to clear with copyright holders. The correct answer is B. Provide the client with a copy of the deposition video, advising them to ensure their use complies with copyright laws and to consult with their attorney if unsure. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent tension between a client's request and the certified legal video specialists, CLVS, ethical and legal obligations regarding copyright. The CLVS must balance client satisfaction with adherence to intellectual property laws, which are fundamental to the integrity of legal proceedings and the profession. The core of the challenge lies in discerning when a client's use of recorded material crosses the line from permissible fair use or licensing into infringement. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes legal compliance and ethical conduct. By seeking clarification on the intended use and consulting with the client's legal counsel, the CLVS ensures that any reproduction or distribution of copyrighted material is done with proper authorization, thereby avoiding potential legal repercussions for both themselves and the client. This aligns with the CLVS responsibility to uphold the law and maintain professional integrity. An incorrect approach that involves immediately fulfilling the client's request without further inquiry fails to acknowledge the potential copyright implications. This could lead to the CLVS becoming complicit in copyright infringement, violating professional standards that require adherence to legal frameworks. Another incorrect approach, such as refusing to provide any service related to the material, might be overly cautious and could damage the client relationship unnecessarily if the intended use was indeed permissible. A third incorrect approach, which is to assume fair use without confirmation, is risky as fair use is a complex legal doctrine with specific tests that must be applied by legal professionals, not by the CLVS. A professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of one's professional boundaries and responsibilities. When faced with a request that touches upon intellectual property rights, the CLVS should 1. Identify the potential legal or ethical issue. 2. Seek clarification from the client regarding the intended use of the material. 3. If the intended use is unclear or potentially problematic, advise the client to consult with their legal counsel. 4. Document all communications and decisions made. This systematic approach ensures that the CLVS acts responsibly and ethically, protecting themselves and their clients from legal entanglements. Question 2. Investigation of a deposition recording reveals a noticeable blue cast on the faces of the deponent and attorneys, particularly evident under the mixed lighting of the courtroom. The certified legal video specialist is aware that this color cast could potentially distort the perception of skin tones and the overall visual integrity of the recording. What is the most appropriate course of action to ensure the highest standard of evidentiary quality? Option A. Make a note in the deposition transcript that there is a blue cast on the video, but do not attempt any adjustments to the camera settings during the recording. Option B. Rely on the camera's automatic white balance feature, as it is designed to adapt to various lighting conditions and should correct the blue cast on its own. Option C. Adjust the camera's white balance setting to a custom preset using a neutral gray card placed in the scene, and then re-record a short test segment to confirm accurate color representation before proceeding with the deposition. Option D. Proceed with the recording as is, assuming that any color cast can be corrected during post-production editing by a separate video editor. The correct answer is C. Adjust the camera's white balance setting to a custom preset using a neutral gray card placed in the scene, and then re-record a short test segment to confirm accurate color representation before proceeding with the deposition. Explanation: the scenario presents a common challenge in legal video production, ensuring accurate and consistent color representation, which directly impacts the evidentiary value and professional presentation of recorded proceedings. The Certified Legal Video Specialist, CLVS, must balance technical proficiency with adherence to established standards and the specific needs of the legal environment. The challenge lies in understanding how different lighting conditions and camera settings affect color temperature and balance, and how to mitigate these effects to produce a video that is both visually accurate and legally sound. The correct approach involves proactively identifying and correcting color temperature and balance issues during the recording process, or immediately thereafter, using appropriate tools and techniques. This ensures that the visual record accurately reflects the environment and participants, preventing potential challenges to the video's authenticity or clarity. Adhering to CLVS best practices and any applicable court rules or guidelines regarding video evidence is paramount. This proactive stance minimizes the risk of introducing artifacts or distortions that could be misconstrued or used to discredit the evidence. An incorrect approach would be to ignore subtle color shifts, assuming they are minor or will be corrected in post-production without proper calibration. This risks introducing inaccuracies that may not be fully rectifiable and could lead to the video being deemed unreliable or inadmissible. Another incorrect approach is to rely solely on automatic white balance settings without verification, as these can be easily fooled by mixed lighting or unusual color casts, leading to inconsistent and inaccurate color representation. Failing to document the lighting conditions and any adjustments made also represents a failure in professional practice, as it hinders transparency and accountability should the video be scrutinized later. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes accuracy, consistency, and adherence to standards. This involves 1. Understanding the principles of color temperature and white balance in relation to video recording. 2. Assessing the lighting environment before recording and identifying potential issues. 3. Utilizing manual white balance settings or color correction tools to achieve accurate color representation. 4. Verifying color accuracy using a color checker or by observing neutral gray or white objects within the scene. 5. Documenting all settings and adjustments made. 6. Consulting relevant CLVS guidelines and court rules for specific requirements. Question 3. What factors determine the selection of appropriate video format and codec for legal video recordings to ensure compliance with jurisdictional requirements and admissibility as evidence? Option A. Selecting the most widely compatible consumer-grade video format and codec for ease of playback on common devices. Option B. Utilizing the latest proprietary codec technology for superior compression and quality, assuming it will be universally accepted. Option C. Prioritizing the highest possible visual resolution and frame rate to capture the most detail, regardless of specific legal format mandates. Option D. Adherence to specific jurisdictional statutes, court rules, and any mandated technical specifications for legal video evidence, alongside considerations for file integrity, compatibility with court systems, and long-term archival needs. The correct answer is D. Adherence to specific jurisdictional statutes, court rules, and any mandated technical specifications for legal video evidence, alongside considerations for file integrity, compatibility with court systems, and long-term archival needs. Explanation: this scenario is professionally challenging because the certified legal video specialist must balance technical requirements for video quality and accessibility with the specific legal and procedural mandates of the jurisdiction. The choice of video format and codec directly impacts the usability, integrity, and admissibility of the recorded evidence. Careful judgment is required to ensure compliance and prevent potential challenges to the evidence later in legal proceedings. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes adherence to the established rules and guidelines of the relevant jurisdiction. This ensures that the video evidence meets all legal requirements for format, resolution, and codec, thereby safeguarding its integrity and admissibility. By consulting and strictly following the jurisdiction's specific regulations for legal video recording, the specialist demonstrates a commitment to professional standards and legal accuracy, minimizing the risk of evidence being excluded or challenged due to technical noncompliance. This proactive approach aligns with the ethical obligation to produce accurate and legally sound records. An incorrect approach that prioritizes only the highest possible visual fidelity without considering jurisdictional requirements is professionally unacceptable. This failure stems from a disregard for the specific legal framework governing evidence. The jurisdiction may have mandated formats or codecs for reasons of standardization, compatibility with court systems, or to ensure a consistent level of detail without excessive file sizes. Choosing a format solely based on technical superiority, without verifying its compliance with these mandates, risks creating evidence that cannot be properly processed or admitted by the court, leading to a direct ethical and professional failure. Another incorrect approach that focuses solely on the most widely compatible consumer-grade format, such as a common MP4 container with H.264 codec, without verifying its suitability for legal contexts, is also problematic. Widely compatible, such formats may not meet specific legal requirements for metadata preservation, timestamp accuracy, or immutability, which are often critical in legal video. This oversight can lead to challenges regarding the chain of custody or the integrity of the recording, representing a failure to meet the rigorous standards expected in legal proceedings. A third incorrect approach that relies on outdated or proprietary codecs without confirming their support within the target court's playback systems or legal software is equally flawed. This can render the video unplayable or difficult to access, directly hindering its use as evidence. The specialist has a duty to ensure the deliverable is functional within the legal environment, and choosing a codec without this verification is a significant professional lapse, potentially violating guidelines related to the practical usability of evidence. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should begin with a thorough understanding of the specific jurisdictional requirements for legal video. This involves consulting relevant statutes, court rules, and any specific guidelines issued by the court or legal bodies. The specialist must then assess the technical capabilities of their equipment and software against these requirements. The chosen video format and codec should be selected to meet or exceed these mandates, while also considering factors like file size, compatibility with court systems, and long-term archival needs. Documentation of the chosen settings and the rationale behind them, referencing the specific regulations followed, is also a crucial part of best practice. Question 4. When evaluating the camera settings for deposition, which approach best ensures the integrity and accuracy of the video record while adhering to professional CLVS standards? Option A. Set the white balance to a generic daylight preset and ignore the shutter speed, as long as the image appears bright enough on the monitor. Option B. Prioritize a very high ISO setting to ensure a bright image, even if it introduces significant digital noise, and use the default white balance. Option C. Manually adjust white balance to match the ambient lighting, set the shutter speed to minimize motion blur while ensuring adequate exposure, and carefully control ISO to maintain image clarity without excessive noise. Option D. Rely on the camera's automatic white balance and exposure settings, assuming they will adequately capture the scene. The correct answer is C. Manually adjust white balance to match the ambient lighting, set the shutter speed to minimize motion blur while ensuring adequate exposure, and carefully control ISO to maintain image clarity without excessive noise. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge because the Certified Legal Video Specialist, CLVS, must balance the technical requirements of capturing clear, accurate video evidence with the need to maintain an unobtrusive presence in a legal proceeding. The specific challenge lies in selecting appropriate camera settings that ensure optimal image quality under potentially variable lighting conditions, while also adhering to the ethical and professional standards of the CLVS profession, which prioritize accuracy and impartiality. Failure to properly adjust settings can lead to misinterpretations of visual evidence, impacting the integrity of the record. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a proactive and informed adjustment of camera settings based on a thorough assessment of the environment and the specific needs of the legal proceeding. This includes setting the white balance to accurately represent colors, adjusting aperture and shutter speed to control exposure and motion blur, and managing ISO to minimize noise while maintaining sufficient brightness. This approach represents best professional practice because it directly supports the CLVS core responsibility to produce a technically sound and accurate video record. Adherence to these technical best practices ensures that the visual evidence is presented faithfully, without distortion or artificial enhancement, thereby upholding the integrity of the legal process and complying with the implicit ethical duty of accuracy inherent in the CLVS certification. Incorrect approaches analysis. Using a default or automatic camera setting without manual adjustment is professionally unacceptable because it relinquishes control over critical image parameters. This can lead to inaccurate color representation due to incorrect white balance, motion blur due to inappropriate shutter speed, or excessive digital noise due to high ISO and low light, all of which can compromise the clarity and interpretability of the video evidence. Failure to actively manage settings can be seen as a breach of the professional duty to produce a high-quality, accurate record. Failing to consider the ambient lighting conditions when setting white balance is another regulatory/ethical failure. Legal proceedings often have mixed lighting sources, e.g., incandescent, fluorescent, natural light, and an incorrect white balance will render colors inaccurately, potentially misrepresenting the appearance of objects or individuals in the video. This directly impacts the fidelity of the evidence. Ignoring the potential for movement within the frame and not adjusting shutter speed accordingly is also a failure. A shutter speed that is too slow can result in motion blur, making it difficult to discern details of actions or expressions. Conversely, a shutter speed that is too fast might result in an underexposed image if not compensated for elsewhere. Both scenarios degrade the quality and accuracy of the visual record. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a systematic approach to camera settings. This begins with understanding the environment, observe the lighting, identify potential movement, and note the overall scene. Then, prioritize settings based on their impact on accuracy and clarity. White balance is paramount for color fidelity. Aperture and shutter speed are crucial for exposure and motion control. ISO should be adjusted judiciously to balance brightness with noise levels. The decision-making process should always be guided by the principle of producing the most accurate and interpretable visual record possible, in line with the standards expected of a certified legal video specialist. This involves a conscious, informed choice for each setting, rather than relying on automated functions that may not be optimized for the specific demands of legal videography. Question 5. Governance review demonstrates that during a deposition, a significant and persistent ambient noise, such as construction outside the deposition room, began to interfere with the audio quality of the legal video recording. The certified legal video specialist is tasked with ensuring the recording is accurate and admissible. What is the most appropriate course of action for the CLVS? Option A. Continue recording without interruption, assuming the audio will be acceptable for later review and transcription. Option B. Attempt to adjust recording equipment settings to compensate for the noise while the recording is in progress, without informing anyone. Option C. Discreetly inform the court or presiding officer of the audio interference and suggest a brief pause to address the issue. Option D. Immediately stop the recording and restart it after the noise subsides, without consulting the court. The correct answer is C. Discreetly inform the court or presiding officer of the audio interference and suggest a brief pause to address the issue. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge for certified legal video specialists, CLVS, where the integrity of recorded evidence is potentially compromised by external factors. The CLVS must balance the need for accurate and admissible evidence with the practicalities of the recording environment. The professional challenge lies in identifying and mitigating potential disruptions without unduly influencing the proceedings or the recording itself, ensuring that the final product is both technically sound and legally defensible. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach prioritizes the preservation of the recording's integrity and legal admissibility by discreetly informing the court or presiding officer of the potential issue and suggesting a brief pause. The CLVS acts in accordance with best practices for maintaining an accurate and unbiased record. This upholds the CLVS duty to provide a faithful representation of the proceedings, as mandated by professional standards and implied by rules of evidence concerning the authenticity and accuracy of recordings. This proactive communication ensures that any necessary adjustments are made with judicial awareness and consent, preventing later challenges to the evidence based on environmental interference. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach involves ignoring the disruption. This fails to uphold the CLVS responsibility to capture a clear and accurate record. If the disruption is significant enough to affect the audio or video quality, it could render the recording unreliable and inadmissible, leading to potential legal ramifications and a breach of professional duty. Another incorrect approach is to attempt to fix the issue independently during the recording, without informing the court. This could be perceived as an attempt to manipulate the recording or interfere with the proceedings, potentially compromising the chain of custody and the perceived impartiality of the CLVS. It bypasses the proper channels for addressing disruptions in a courtroom setting and could lead to objections regarding the integrity of the recording. A third incorrect approach is to stop the recording abruptly and restart without consultation. This creates a discontinuity in the record, which can be problematic for legal review and may raise questions about what was captured or missed during the interruption. It also fails to acknowledge the court's authority to manage the proceedings and address environmental factors. Professional reasoning. When faced with environmental disruptions, a CLVS should follow a decision-making process that prioritizes transparency, adherence to court protocols, and the preservation of evidence integrity. The first step is to assess the severity of the disruption and its potential impact on the recording. If the impact is significant, the CLVS should discreetly bring the issue to the attention of the presiding officer. The CLVS should then await instructions or suggest a brief, controlled pause to address the issue. This ensures that all actions are taken with the court's knowledge and approval, maintaining the professional's role as an objective recorder of events. Question 6. Cost-benefit analysis shows that achieving optimal audio clarity while maintaining a professional and unobtrusive visual presence is paramount for a certified legal video specialist. Considering the need to capture testimony accurately and without distraction, which camera operation approach best balances these critical factors? Option A. Position the camera on a tripod at a moderate distance, ensuring it captures the deponent and examiner without obstructing their view or movement, and allowing for effective microphone placement. Option B. Mount the camera directly on the table in front of the deponent to ensure a close-up view of their reactions. Option C. Utilize a handheld camera to follow the deponent's movements throughout the proceeding. Option D. Place the camera on a high shelf or in a corner of the room to minimize its visual impact. The correct answer is A. Position the camera on a tripod at a moderate distance, ensuring it captures the deponent and examiner without obstructing their view or movement, and allowing for effective microphone placement. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in legal video recording, where the need for clear, unobtrusive audio capture conflicts with the desire to minimize visual disruption to the proceedings. The Certified Legal Video Specialist, CLVS, must balance technical requirements for evidence integrity with the professional decorum expected in a courtroom or deposition setting. The challenge lies in selecting camera placement that optimizes audio pickup without becoming a distraction or compromising the visual record of the participants. Correct approach analysis. Placing the camera on a tripod at a moderate distance, positioned to capture the deponent and the examiner without obstructing their view or movement, represents best professional practice. This approach adheres to CLVS standards by ensuring a stable, clear visual record of the testimony and the interaction between parties. It also allows for optimal microphone placement, typically on the table or a discrete boom, to capture high-quality audio without the camera itself being a source of unwanted noise or visual distraction. This method prioritizes the integrity of the record, both visual and auditory, as mandated by professional standards and likely court rules regarding evidence preservation. Incorrect approaches analysis. Mounting the camera directly on the table in front of the deponent is a regulatory and ethical failure. This placement is highly intrusive, likely to obstruct the deponent's view, and can create visual clutter in the recording. It also presents a significant risk of the camera or its operator inadvertently bumping the table, causing audio disruptions. Furthermore, it can be perceived as unprofessional and disrespectful to the deponent and the court. Placing the camera on a high shelf or in a corner of the room, while potentially less intrusive visually, poses a severe risk to audio quality. Such distant placement often results in muffled or unclear audio, especially if ambient noise is present. This compromises the primary function of a legal video specialist, to create an accurate and usable record. It also fails to capture the nuances of facial expressions and body language, which are critical components of testimony. Using a handheld camera to follow the deponent's movements is a clear violation of professional standards and likely court rules. This method is inherently unstable, leading to shaky footage and inconsistent framing. It is highly distracting to participants and the court, and the constant movement makes it impossible to maintain a consistent audio capture. This approach fundamentally undermines the integrity and usability of the recorded evidence. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach camera operation by first understanding the primary objective, to create an accurate, complete, and usable record of the proceedings. This involves considering both visual and auditory elements. The decision-making process should involve assessing the environment, the participants' needs, and the technical requirements for evidence. A systematic evaluation of potential camera placements should prioritize stability, optimal audio capture, minimal disruption, and adherence to professional and legal standards. When in doubt, consulting with counsel or the court regarding preferred placement is a prudent step. Question 7. The audit findings indicate a potential deviation from best practices concerning the use of audio monitoring equipment during a deposition, specifically regarding the number of headphones utilized by the videographer. Considering the CLVS standard of conduct, which emphasizes impartiality and the accurate recording of proceedings, what is the most appropriate method for audio monitoring during a deposition? Option A. Refrain from using any headphones, relying solely on the equipment's automatic recording capabilities without active monitoring. Option B. Use headphones only when specifically instructed by counsel to check audio quality. Option C. Utilize a single headphone or earbud to monitor audio levels and clarity, allowing for awareness of the deposition environment. Option D. Employ 2 headphones, one in each ear, to achieve complete audio isolation and focus solely on the sound feed. Correct answer is C. Utilize a single headphone or earbud to monitor audio levels and clarity, allowing for awareness of the deposition environment. Explanation. The audit findings indicate a potential lapse in adherence to best practices regarding the use of headphones and monitoring equipment during legal video depositions. This scenario is professionally challenging because it involves balancing the need for accurate audio capture with the potential for perceived or actual bias, and ensuring the integrity of the record. The Certified Legal Video Specialist, CLVS, has a duty to maintain neutrality and avoid any action that could be construed as influencing the proceedings or compromising the quality of the deposition. The correct approach, which involves using a single, high-quality headphone to monitor audio levels and clarity without isolating the specialist from the deposition environment, represents best professional practice. This method ensures the CLVS can effectively perform their primary duty, capturing a clear and accurate audio-visual record. It allows for real-time detection of audio issues such as background noise, microphone malfunctions, or speaking volume discrepancies, enabling immediate correction. This practice aligns with the CLVS standard of conduct, which emphasizes impartiality and the production of an accurate record. By monitoring with one earbud or a single headphone, the specialist remains aware of the proceedings and can respond appropriately to counsel's needs or unexpected events, thus upholding the integrity of the deposition. An incorrect approach of using 2 headphones, thereby isolating the specialist from the ambient sounds of the deposition room, is professionally unacceptable. This practice can lead to a failure to detect subtle but important environmental cues, such as a witness becoming distressed, a juror's reaction in a jury trial context, or an unexpected interruption that might require immediate attention. It can also create a perception of detachment or disinterest, undermining the professional demeanor expected of a CLVS. Furthermore, it could inadvertently lead to missing spoken instructions or objections that are not directly addressed to the specialist but are crucial for the record. Another incorrect approach, that of not using any headphones at all, is also professionally unacceptable. This directly compromises the CLVS ability to perform their core function, ensuring the audio quality of the deposition. Without monitoring, the specialist cannot identify or rectify audio problems in real time, potentially resulting in an unusable or incomplete record. This failure to actively manage and verify the audio feed is a direct breach of the duty to produce an accurate and complete record, which is a fundamental ethical and professional obligation. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a thorough understanding of the CLVS standard of conduct and the specific requirements of the deposition. Professionals must prioritize the accurate capture of the record while maintaining strict neutrality. This involves a continuous assessment of the audio feed, awareness of the deposition environment, and the ability to make immediate, informed decisions about equipment use that best serves the integrity of the proceedings. The goal is always to be an unobtrusive yet vigilant guardian of the record. Question 8. Quality control measures reveal that during a deposition, a witness used a term that sounded phonetically similar to alibi, but given the context of the testimony regarding a prior conviction, could have been a different, legally significant term. What is the most appropriate action for the certified legal video specialist to take to maintain the integrity of the record? Option A. Note the term as unintelligible or term uncertain in the transcript and flag it for review by the court reporter or legal counsel. Option B. Omit the unclear term from the transcript entirely, assuming it was not critical to the witness's statement. Option C. Substitute the term with a more common legal synonym that fits the general context of the testimony. Option D. Transcribe the term as alibi, because it is the most likely word based on phonetic similarity and common usage. The correct answer is D. Transcribe the term as alibi, because it is the most likely word based on phonetic similarity and common usage. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a challenge in ensuring the accuracy and integrity of legal video recordings, specifically concerning the precise use of legal terminology. Misinterpreting or misapplying terms can lead to significant evidentiary issues, potential miscarriages of justice, and professional liability for the Certified Legal Video Specialist, CLVS. The CLVS has a duty to accurately capture and represent the proceedings, which includes correctly identifying and documenting spoken words, especially those with legal significance. The challenge lies in distinguishing between similar-sounding terms that have vastly different legal meanings and implications. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a thorough understanding of legal terminology and its context within the proceedings. A CLVS must be able to discern the intended meaning of spoken words, especially when they are legal terms, and accurately transcribe or caption them. This requires not only a strong vocabulary, but also an awareness of legal procedures and the specific context of the case. When faced with ambiguity or a term that could have multiple legal interpretations, the CLVS should err on the side of caution and seek clarification, or use a notation that indicates the uncertainty, rather than making an assumption that could be legally incorrect. This aligns with the CLVS ethical obligation to provide an accurate and reliable record. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach is to assume the meaning of a legal term based on its phonetic similarity to a more common word, without verifying its legal context. This demonstrates a failure to apply due diligence and a lack of understanding of the critical importance of precise legal terminology. Such an assumption can lead to a misrepresentation of the record, potentially impacting the admissibility of evidence or the understanding of testimony. This violates the CLVS duty to produce an accurate record and could be seen as professional negligence. Another incorrect approach is to ignore potentially significant legal terms that are spoken unclearly, assuming they are not important. This reflects a passive approach to the responsibilities of a CLVS, who is tasked with capturing all relevant spoken content. The importance of a term cannot be judged by the speaker's clarity alone. The legal significance of the word itself is paramount. Failing to capture such terms deprives the legal record of potentially crucial information, undermining the integrity of the proceedings and the CLVS professional role. A third incorrect approach is to substitute a more familiar synonym for a legal term if the exact term is not immediately recognized. While synonyms may exist in general language, legal terminology is often highly specific, and a subtle difference in wording can drastically alter legal meaning. This approach demonstrates a lack of respect for the precision required in legal language and a failure to uphold the standard of accuracy expected of a CLVS. It introduces an element of interpretation that is outside the CLVS purview, which is to record what is said, not to interpret or rephrase it. Professional reasoning. When faced with spoken words that are legal terms, a CLVS should employ a systematic approach. First, listen intently to the word and its surrounding context. If the word is clearly identifiable and its legal meaning is unambiguous within the context, record it precisely. If the word is unclear or could have multiple legal meanings, pause and consider the context. If still uncertain, it is best practice to make a notation indicating the uncertainty, e.g., unintelligible or term uncertain, or to flag it for potential review by the court reporter or legal counsel. The ultimate goal is to create a record that is as accurate and complete as possible, reflecting the spoken word, without introducing personal interpretation or assumptions that could compromise its legal validity. Question 9. Strategic planning requires a certified legal video specialist to anticipate potential disruptions during a trial. If during a critical testimony, the video recording equipment malfunctions, causing a temporary loss of audio and visual capture, what is the most appropriate immediate course of action? Option A. Immediately cease recording, inform the presiding judge of the malfunction and its duration, and await further instructions on how to proceed or attempt a repair. Option B. Stop recording and wait for the technical issue to resolve on its own before resuming. Option C. Continue recording, hoping the equipment will self-correct, and address any potential issues with the recording later. Option D. Discreetly attempt to fix the equipment without informing the court to avoid disrupting the proceedings. The correct answer is A. Immediately cease recording, inform the presiding judge of the malfunction and its duration, and await further instructions on how to proceed or attempt a repair. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge for certified legal video specialists, CLVS, in a courtroom setting, ensuring the integrity and admissibility of video evidence while navigating the dynamic and often high-pressure environment of legal proceedings. The CLVS must balance technical proficiency with an understanding of courtroom protocols and evidentiary rules. The core challenge lies in making immediate, informed decisions that uphold legal standards and protect the record, even when faced with unexpected technical issues or procedural deviations. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach prioritizes the preservation of the official record and adherence to established courtroom procedures. This aligns with the CLVS fundamental responsibility to provide an accurate and complete visual and auditory record of proceedings. By immediately addressing the technical malfunction and informing the court, the CLVS demonstrates professionalism, technical competence, and respect for the judicial process. This proactive communication allows the court to make informed decisions about how to proceed, minimizing disruption and safeguarding the integrity of the evidence. This approach is supported by general principles of evidence preservation and the ethical obligations of a CLVS to maintain the accuracy and completeness of the record, as implicitly understood within the framework of legal video recording standards. Incorrect approaches analysis. Failing to immediately address the technical malfunction and continuing to record without acknowledging the issue is a critical failure. This compromises the integrity of the record, potentially rendering portions of the video inadmissible as evidence. It violates the implicit duty to provide a clear and accurate recording. Attempting to fix the issue discreetly without informing the court is also problematic. While well-intentioned, it bypasses the court's authority to manage proceedings and could lead to further complications if the repair is unsuccessful or causes additional disruption. It undermines the transparency expected in a courtroom. Ignoring the issue and hoping it resolves itself is the most negligent approach. This demonstrates a lack of technical responsibility and a disregard for the importance of the official record. It directly jeopardizes the admissibility of evidence and the fairness of the proceedings. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a decision-making framework that emphasizes immediate problem identification, transparent communication with the presiding authority, the judge, and adherence to established protocols. When a technical issue arises, the first step is to assess its impact on the recording. If the integrity of the record is compromised, immediate notification of the court is paramount. The CLVS should then propose a solution or await instructions from the judge on how to proceed. This ensures that all parties are aware of the situation and that decisions are made collaboratively within the legal framework. Question 10. The performance metrics show that the audio capture in the previous trial was inconsistent, with some testimony being difficult to discern. The judge has specifically requested that for the upcoming trial, all spoken words by any participant, including the judge, attorneys, witnesses, and any sidebar conversations, must be captured with absolute clarity and intelligibility. considering the typical acoustics of a courtroom and the need for unobtrusive equipment, which microphone placement and technique strategy would best ensure compliance with the judge's directive and professional standards for a certified legal video specialist. Option A. Utilizing a directional parabolic microphone positioned at the back of the courtroom to capture all audio from a distance. Option B. Deploying lavalier microphones on each participant and a discrete overhead microphone positioned near the judge's bench. Option C. Relying solely on the courtroom's existing public address system's microphone input for the recording. Option D. Placing a single, high-sensitivity microphone centrally on the counsel table, assuming it will pick up all audio. The correct answer is B. Deploying lavalier microphones on each participant and a discrete overhead microphone positioned near the judge's bench. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in legal video recording, ensuring clear and intelligible audio capture in a dynamic courtroom environment. The professional challenge lies in balancing the need for accurate audio recording of all participants with the practical constraints of courtroom acoustics, potential background noise, and the unobtrusive nature required of recording equipment. The judge's directive adds a layer of urgency and a specific requirement that must be met without compromising the integrity of the recording or the decorum of the court. Careful judgment is required to select and implement microphone techniques that satisfy these competing demands. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach, which involves strategically placing lavalier microphones on each participant and a discrete overhead microphone near the bench, represents best professional practice because it directly addresses the core requirements of clear audio capture for all speakers while minimizing interference. Lavalier microphones, when properly attached, are designed to pick up the speaker's voice directly, reducing ambient noise and room echo. The overhead microphone near the bench serves as a crucial backup and ensures that any pronouncements or side conversations from the judge are captured with clarity. This multi-microphone strategy is a standard technique for ensuring comprehensive and intelligible audio in complex acoustic environments like courtrooms, aligning with the general principles of accurate record-keeping expected in legal proceedings. While specific regulations for certified legal video specialists in the U.S. may not dictate exact microphone models or placement, the underlying ethical and professional obligation is to produce a recording that is a faithful and complete representation of the proceedings, which this approach facilitates. Incorrect approaches analysis. Placing a single microphone on the counsel table, while seemingly convenient, fails to capture the audio of participants not seated at the table or those who may speak from different positions. This can lead to unintelligible audio for key testimony or arguments, violating the professional obligation to produce a complete and accurate record. Relying solely on the courtroom's built-in sound system, if it exists, is also problematic as these systems are often not optimized for the specific needs of legal recording and can introduce their own audio artifacts or fail to capture all necessary audio sources clearly. Using a parabolic microphone to capture audio from a distance is generally inappropriate for courtroom proceedings due to its directional limitations, susceptibility to ambient noise, and the potential for it to be perceived as intrusive or unprofessional, thereby disrupting the court's decorum. Each of these approaches risks producing a recording that is not sufficiently clear or complete, potentially leading to disputes over the record, and failing to meet the professional standards of a certified legal video specialist. Professional reasoning. Professionals in this field must adopt a decision-making process that prioritizes the integrity and completeness of the audio record. This involves understanding the acoustic properties of the recording environment, identifying all potential audio sources, and selecting equipment and techniques that best capture those sources clearly and unobtrusively. A systematic approach would include pre-session testing of all audio equipment, consulting with court personnel regarding any specific recording requirements, and implementing a redundant audio capture strategy where feasible. When faced with a directive from the judge, the professional must assess how best to comply while upholding their core responsibilities. This involves a balance of technical expertise and an understanding of courtroom protocol, ensuring that the chosen method is both effective and appropriate for the legal setting. Question 11. Risk assessment procedures indicate that a certified legal video specialist is tasked with recording a critical deposition that will be used as primary evidence in a high-stakes trial. The legal team has expressed concerns about the potential for the video to be challenged on grounds of image degradation or audio distortion, which could impact its admissibility. The specialist must select a video codec for the recording. Which of the following approaches best aligns with the professional obligations and regulatory framework for ensuring the integrity and admissibility of legal video evidence? Option A. Select a codec known for its high fidelity and minimal compression, such as ProRes or DNx HD, to ensure the highest possible quality and preservation of visual and auditory detail, even if it results in larger file sizes. Option B. Choose a codec based on personal familiarity and ease of use, without conducting specific research into its compression characteristics or its suitability for legal evidence, as long as it produces a playable video file. Option C. Prioritize a codec that offers the most aggressive file size reduction, like H.264 with very low bitrates, to minimize storage and transmission costs, assuming that minor visual or audio imperfections will not affect the core evidentiary value. Option D. Opt for a codec that is widely used for consumer-level video sharing platforms, as this ensures broad compatibility, and assume that any quality differences will be acceptable to the court. The correct answer is A. Select a codec known for its high fidelity and minimal compression, such as ProRes or DNx HD, to ensure the highest possible quality and preservation of visual and auditory detail, even if it results in larger file sizes. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge for certified legal video specialists, balancing the technical requirements of video codecs with the practical constraints of legal proceedings, specifically the need for accurate and admissible evidence. The core challenge lies in selecting a codec that ensures both high-quality visual and audio fidelity for evidentiary purposes, while also considering the practicalities of storage, transmission, and compatibility within the legal framework. Failure to select the appropriate codec can lead to issues with evidence integrity, admissibility, and the overall efficiency of the legal process. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach prioritizes the integrity and admissibility of the video evidence. This involves selecting a codec that offers a balance of quality and file size, ensuring that the visual and auditory information is captured with sufficient detail for analysis and presentation in court, while also being manageable for storage and distribution. For legal video, codecs like ProRes or DNx HD are often preferred for their higher fidelity and less aggressive compression, which minimizes the risk of data loss or degradation that could impact evidentiary value. These codecs are designed for professional post-production and archival, making them suitable for maintaining the integrity of legal recordings. Adherence to court rules and established best practices for evidence handling, which often implicitly favor less compressed formats for critical evidence, is paramount. In correct approaches analysis. Choosing a codec solely based on file size reduction without considering the impact on visual and auditory fidelity is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. For instance, using highly compressed codecs like H.264 with aggressive settings for primary legal recordings can introduce artifacts or loss of detail that might be crucial for identifying individuals, reading documents, or discerning subtle actions. This compromises the evidentiary value and could lead to challenges regarding the authenticity and completeness of the recording, potentially violating rules of evidence concerning the best evidence rule. Another incorrect approach is selecting a codec without verifying its compatibility with the intended playback systems or legal review platforms. This can result in the inability to present the evidence effectively, undermining the legal process and failing to meet the professional obligation to deliver usable evidence. Furthermore, failing to document the codec choice and its rationale can be seen as a lapse in professional record keeping, which is often implicitly required for chain of custody and evidence integrity. Professional reasoning. Certified legal video specialists must adopt a decision-making process that begins with understanding the specific legal requirements and the intended use of the video evidence. This involves consulting relevant court rules, judicial orders, and the specific needs of the legal team. The primary consideration should always be the preservation of evidence integrity and ensuring its admissibility. This means favoring codecs that offer superior fidelity, even if they result in larger file sizes, and then employing efficient storage and transmission methods. A thorough understanding of codec characteristics, including their compression algorithms and potential impact on data, is essential. Professionals should maintain clear documentation of their choices and be prepared to justify them based on evidentiary standards and best practices. When in doubt, consulting with legal counsel regarding evidence handling protocols is a critical step. Question 12. The efficiency study reveals that relying solely on existing ambient and natural light sources in deposition rooms significantly reduces setup time. However, a risk assessment of past cases indicates that inconsistent lighting conditions can lead to challenges regarding the clarity and objectivity of video evidence. Considering the paramount importance of producing admissible and reliable video records for legal proceedings, which approach to lighting principles best mitigates these risks? Option A. Rely on the venue's existing overhead fluorescent lighting, adjusting camera settings to compensate for any inconsistencies. Option B. Utilize only the available natural light, assuming it is sufficient for basic visibility to maximize setup speed. Option C. Implement a controlled three-point lighting setup to ensure consistent, even illumination, regardless of ambient light conditions. Option D. Employ a single key light positioned directly in front of the subject to provide adequate illumination quickly. The correct answer is C. Implement a controlled three-point lighting setup to ensure consistent, even illumination, regardless of ambient light conditions. Explanation. The scenario presents a common challenge for certified legal video specialists, balancing the need for efficient workflow with the absolute requirement of capturing clear, admissible evidence. The core tension lies between speed and quality, particularly when dealing with lighting, a fundamental element of video evidence. The professional challenge is to ensure that the pursuit of efficiency does not compromise the integrity and usability of the video record, which has direct implications for legal proceedings. The correct approach prioritizes the foundational principles of legal video recording, specifically the accurate and unbiased representation of the scene and testimony. Three-point lighting, when properly implemented, ensures that subjects are well lit, shadows are minimized, and the overall image is clear and free from distracting artifacts. This directly supports the admissibility of the video evidence by preventing potential challenges based on poor visibility or misleading visual cues. Adherence to established lighting techniques is not merely a technical preference, but a professional standard that upholds the integrity of the legal process. An incorrect approach that relies solely on ambient or natural light without proper assessment and augmentation fails to meet the professional standard. Natural light can be highly variable and unpredictable, leading to inconsistent exposure, harsh shadows, or blown-out highlights, all of which can obscure crucial details or create misinterpretations. This lack of control over the visual environment can render the video evidence unreliable and subject to exclusion. Another incorrect approach might involve overlighting, which can also distort the visual reality of the scene, creating an artificial appearance that could be challenged. The failure to proactively manage lighting conditions, even in the name of speed, constitutes a dereliction of professional duty to produce accurate and admissible evidence. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with understanding the specific requirements of the legal context and the venue. This involves a pre-production assessment of the environment, including existing light sources. The decision to use or supplement natural light should be based on whether it can consistently provide adequate, even illumination without introducing undesirable artifacts. If natural light is insufficient or inconsistent, the professional must implement controlled lighting solutions, such as three-point lighting, to ensure optimal image quality and adherence to legal standards. The ultimate goal is to produce a video record that is a faithful and objective representation of the events and testimony, free from technical deficiencies that could compromise its evidentiary value. Question 13. The risk matrix shows a high probability of power fluctuations and surges in the venue where a critical deposition is scheduled. As a certified legal video specialist, what is the most appropriate power management and safety approach to ensure the integrity of the recording and the safety of the equipment and personnel? Option A. Employ standard, uncertified power strips and daisy-chain multiple extension cords to accommodate all necessary equipment. Option B. Rely solely on the venue's existing electrical infrastructure, assuming it is adequate for sensitive recording equipment. Option C. Utilize certified surge protectors and an uninterruptible power supply (UPS) system that are compliant with relevant safety standards for all recording equipment. Option D. Connect all equipment directly to the venue's wall outlets without any additional power conditioning devices. The correct answer is C. Utilize certified surge protectors and an uninterruptible power supply UPS system that are compliant with relevant safety standards for all recording equipment. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent risks associated with electrical equipment in a legal setting, particularly when dealing with sensitive proceedings. Certified legal video specialists are entrusted with maintaining the integrity of the recording process, which includes ensuring the safety and reliability of their equipment. The need to balance operational efficiency with strict adherence to safety regulations is paramount. Careful judgment is required to select power management solutions that not only prevent disruptions, but also comply with established safety standards to protect personnel, equipment, and the legal process itself. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes safety and regulatory compliance above all else. By utilizing surge protectors and UPS systems that are certified by recognized safety organizations, such as OL or ETL in the U.S. context, the specialist is directly adhering to guidelines that ensure electrical equipment is safe for use and will not pose a fire hazard or cause damage. This proactive measure mitigates the risk of power surges, brownouts, or complete power failures, thereby safeguarding the recording and preventing potential legal challenges arising from compromised evidence. This aligns with the professional obligation to maintain a secure and reliable recording environment. An incorrect approach that involves using uncertified power strips or daisy-chaining multiple extension cords is professionally unacceptable. This directly violates safety regulations that mandate the use of certified electrical equipment to prevent overheating, electrical fires, and equipment damage. Such practices create an unacceptable risk to the integrity of the recording and the safety of the courtroom or deposition room. Furthermore, relying on equipment that has not undergone rigorous safety testing can lead to unexpected failures, potentially jeopardizing the entire deposition or hearing. Another incorrect approach, such as ignoring potential power fluctuations and not using any surge protection, demonstrates a failure to exercise due diligence in protecting critical recording equipment. This negligence can result in data corruption or loss, leading to significant legal ramifications and a breach of professional responsibility. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a thorough risk assessment of the environment where the recording will take place. This includes understanding the local electrical infrastructure and identifying potential power issues. The specialist should then consult relevant safety standards and regulations applicable to their jurisdiction. Selecting equipment that meets these standards, such as certified surge protectors and uninterruptible power supplies, should be a non-negotiable step. Regular inspection and maintenance of all electrical equipment are also crucial. When faced with uncertainty about power quality, erring on the side of caution by implementing robust power management solutions is always the most responsible course of action. Question 14. Quality control measures reveal that during a video deposition, the camera was primarily focused on the deponent's face, with audio levels set to capture their voice clearly. But the attorneys questioning the deponent were only partially visible in the frame, and their voices were sometimes difficult to discern due to background noise. What is the most appropriate course of action for the certified legal video specialist to ensure adherence to legal standards and rules of evidence? Option A. Continue the deposition as is, assuming that the deponent's testimony is the primary focus and the attorney's presence is secondary, and address any audio issues during post-production editing. Option B. Adjust camera angles and audio settings to ensure both the deponent and the attorneys asking questions are clearly visible and audible, and inform the attorneys of the adjustments made to comply with best practices for deposition recording. Option C. Record a separate audio track for the attorney's questions and instruct the attorneys to speak directly into a microphone to improve audio clarity for the remainder of the deposition. Option D. Immediately halt the deposition and inform the attorneys that the recording does not meet the standards for admissibility due to incomplete visual and audio capture of all participants. The correct answer is D. Immediately halt the deposition and inform the attorneys that the recording does not meet the standards for admissibility due to incomplete visual and audio capture of all participants. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common implementation challenge for certified legal video specialists, CLVS, where the technical execution of recording directly impacts the admissibility and integrity of evidence. The challenge lies in balancing the need for a comprehensive and accurate recording with the specific evidentiary rules governing video depositions. Failure to adhere to these rules can render the video unusable in court, leading to significant legal and financial repercussions for the client and the attorneys involved. The CLVS must possess a thorough understanding of the applicable rules of evidence to proactively identify and mitigate potential issues during the recording process. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach demonstrates a proactive understanding of the federal rules of evidence concerning the recording of depositions. Specifically, Free 30(b)(3) requires that the deposition be recorded by the method described in the notice. If the notice specifies video, the recording must be done in a manner that preserves the integrity of the deposition. The CLVS action of ensuring the camera is positioned to capture both the deponent and the attorneys asking questions, and that the audio is clear and intelligible, directly addresses the requirements for a complete and accurate record. This approach aligns with the CLVS ethical obligation to produce a faithful and usable record, ensuring that the deposition can be presented effectively in court without objections related to the recording quality or completeness. This proactive measure prevents potential challenges to admissibility based on poor audio-visual quality or incomplete visual representation of the proceedings. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach involves prioritizing only the visual clarity of the deponent, neglecting the audio quality. This fails to meet the fundamental requirement of FRE 30(b)(3) that the deposition be recorded in a manner that allows for accurate transcription and understanding of the testimony. Or audio can lead to objections regarding the intelligibility of the testimony, rendering portions or the entirety of the deposition inadmissible. Another incorrect approach is to solely focus on capturing the deponent's face, ignoring the presence and actions of the attorneys. This violates the spirit and often the letter of deposition recording standards, which aim to document the entire deposition process, including the questioning and objections made by counsel. The visual record should ideally show the interaction between the deponent and the attorneys, which can be crucial for context and impeachment. Failing to do so can lead to challenges regarding the completeness of the visual record. A third incorrect approach is to assume that any recording method is acceptable as long as it captures sound and image, without verifying compliance with the specific method outlined in the deposition notice. If the notice specified video recording, simply recording audio on a separate device or using a low-quality video camera that does not meet professional standards would be a failure to adhere to the notice and the FRE. This demonstrates a lack of diligence and understanding of the procedural requirements for deposition recording. Professional reasoning. Certified legal video specialists must adopt a decision-making process that prioritizes adherence to the federal rules of evidence and the specific instructions in the deposition notice. This involves a thorough pre-deposition review of the notice, understanding the requirements for audio and visual recording, and implementing quality control checks throughout the recording process. When faced with potential issues, the CLVS should communicate with the attorneys to ensure compliance and to document any agreed-upon deviations. The ultimate goal is to produce a video record that is technically sound, legally compliant, and free from defects that could impede its admissibility or effectiveness in legal proceedings. Question 15. The risk matrix shows a potential for client dissatisfaction if advanced camera features are restricted, but also a high risk of evidence inadmissibility if recording standards are not met. Considering the Certified Legal Video Specialist (CLVS) certification requirements and the paramount importance of maintaining an accurate and unalterable record for legal proceedings, which camera equipment approach best mitigates the risk of evidence inadmissibility while still aiming for professional quality? Option A. Choose a camera that primarily relies on automatic exposure and white balance settings to simplify operation and ensure consistent lighting conditions. Option B. Utilize a camera with a fixed focal length lens that allows for manual focus control, ensuring the focus remains constant and sharp throughout the recording. Option C. Employ a camera with a sophisticated autofocus system that can dynamically adjust focus to keep subjects sharp, even if they move slightly. Option D. Select a camera with a powerful optical zoom lens that can be used to capture close-up details of documents or subtle reactions during testimony. The correct answer is B. Utilize a camera with a fixed focal length lens that allows for manual focus control, ensuring the focus remains constant and sharp throughout the recording. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent tension between client requests and regulatory compliance in legal video recording. The Certified Legal Video Specialist, CLVS, must balance the client's desire for a specific aesthetic or perceived technical advantage with the absolute requirement to adhere to established standards that ensure the integrity and admissibility of the video evidence. Failure to do so can have severe legal repercussions, including the exclusion of crucial evidence. The CLVS judgment is critical in navigating these conflicting demands, while upholding professional ethics and legal mandates. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach prioritizes adherence to the CLVS certification standards and relevant court rules regarding video recording. This is best professional practice because these standards are designed to ensure the authenticity, accuracy, and unalterable nature of the recorded proceedings. Using equipment that meets these specifications, such as a camera with a fixed focal length and manual focus control, directly supports the integrity of the record. This approach aligns with the ethical obligation of the CLVS to provide an accurate and reliable record, which is paramount for the judicial process. The CLVS certification itself implies a commitment to these standards, making their application a non-negotiable aspect of professional conduct. Incorrect approaches analysis. Using a camera with advanced autofocus features that cannot be reliably locked or disabled presents a significant regulatory and ethical failure. Autofocus systems can inadvertently shift focus during recording, potentially blurring critical visual information or introducing an element of doubt about the accuracy of the recording. This directly contravenes the principle of maintaining an unalterable and accurate record, which is a cornerstone of legal video standards. The inability to guarantee consistent focus undermines the video's evidentiary value and violates the CLVS duty to produce a technically sound and legally compliant recording. Employing a camera with a zoom lens that is not locked to a fixed focal length also poses a risk to the integrity of the record. While zoom lenses offer flexibility, their use in legal video recording can lead to unintended changes in perspective or magnification during the deposition. Such alterations can be perceived as manipulative or can obscure important details, thereby compromising the objectivity and reliability of the recording. This violates the spirit and letter of regulations that demand a consistent and unaltered visual representation of the proceedings. Opting for a camera that relies heavily on automatic exposure settings without manual override capabilities introduces another layer of potential noncompliance. Automatic exposure can lead to inconsistent lighting within the recording, such as overexposure or underexposure, which can obscure facial expressions or other visual cues. This inconsistency can be challenged in court, raising questions about the completeness and accuracy of the recorded testimony. The CLVS has a responsibility to ensure a technically sound recording, and reliance on automatic settings without manual control can lead to a failure in this duty. Professional reasoning. Professionals in this field must adopt a decision-making process that begins with a thorough understanding of the CLVS certification requirements and any applicable court rules or local rules of procedure. When faced with client requests that deviate from these standards, the professional's primary responsibility is to educate the client on the implications of such deviations for the admissibility and integrity of the recording. The decision-making framework should involve 1. Identifying the core requirements of the CLVS standards and relevant legal frameworks. 2. Evaluating the client's request against these requirements. 3. If a conflict exists, prioritizing compliance with the regulatory framework. 4. Communicating clearly with the client about the necessity of adhering to standards and offering compliant alternatives. 5. Documenting all decisions and communications. This systematic approach ensures that professional judgment is grounded in regulatory compliance and ethical responsibility. Question 16. Compliance review shows that during a deposition, the videographer utilized a composition where the deponent was positioned significantly off-center, with a prominent architectural feature in the foreground leading the viewer's eye away from the subject, and very little space above the deponent's head. Which of the following approaches best aligns with the professional standards and likely regulatory expectations for certified legal video specialists in capturing deposition testimony? Option A. adjusting the deponent's position to be closer to the center or within the rule of thirds, ensuring their face is clearly visible and unobstructed, using leading lines to subtly guide focus towards the deponent without distraction, and ensuring adequate headroom above the deponent's head. Option B, maximizing the visual interest of the background by placing the deponent in a less prominent position and using strong leading lines that draw attention to background elements, while maintaining minimal headroom to emphasize the deponent's presence. Option C, centering the deponent precisely in the frame and ensuring their shoulders are at the very top edge of the frame to maximize the visible area of the room, while using a prominent foreground object as a visual anchor. Option D, placing the deponent significantly off-center to create a more dynamic shot, allowing a large portion of the frame to be filled with background detail, and ensuring there is no headroom to convey a sense of immediacy. The correct answer is A, adjusting the deponent's position to be closer to the center or within the rule of thirds, ensuring their face is clearly visible and unobstructed, using leading lines to subtly guide focus towards the deponent without distraction, and ensuring adequate headroom above the deponent's head. Explanation: this scenario presents a common implementation challenge for certified legal video specialists, balancing aesthetic principles with the strict requirements of legal proceedings. The challenge lies in ensuring that visual clarity and adherence to established best practices for legal videography do not compromise the integrity or readability of the deposition. The rule of thirds, leading lines, and headroom are not merely stylistic choices. They are fundamental to creating a professional and legally sound record. The correct approach prioritizes clear subject focus and adherence to established legal videography standards. By placing the deponent off-center using the rule of thirds, the videographer creates a more dynamic and visually engaging composition, while still ensuring the deponent's face is fully visible and unobstructed. Strategic use of leading lines, such as the edge of a table or a wall, can subtly guide the viewer's eye towards the deponent, enhancing focus without distraction. Proper headroom ensures that the top of the deponent's head is not cut off and that there is adequate space above them, preventing a cramped or unprofessional appearance. This approach directly supports the legal requirement for a clear and accurate visual record, facilitating easy review and analysis of testimony. An incorrect approach that overemphasizes artistic composition at the expense of clarity would be to place the deponent too far to one side, making their face difficult to see or obscuring important facial expressions. This violates the implicit requirement for a clear and identifiable subject. Another failure would be to ignore headroom, cutting off the top of the deponent's head or placing their head too close to the top of the frame, which appears unprofessional and can detract from the seriousness of the proceeding. Similarly, using leading lines that distract from the deponent or lead the eye out of the frame would be a failure. These approaches compromise the primary function of legal video, to provide an accurate and easily interpretable record of the deposition. Regulatory frameworks for legal videography, while not always explicitly detailing compositional rules, mandate clarity, professionalism, and the accurate capture of testimony. Deviating from established best practices in framing and composition can lead to challenges regarding the admissibility or reliability of the video evidence. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with understanding the primary purpose of legal videography, to create a clear, accurate, and admissible record. This involves prioritizing the subject's visibility and the overall professionalism of the presentation. When applying compositional principles like the rule of thirds, leading lines, and headroom, the videographer must constantly assess their impact on clarity and adherence to legal standards. The goal is to enhance, not detract from, the legal record. If a compositional choice, however aesthetically pleasing, compromises the deponent's visibility or the overall professionalism, it must be reconsidered. Question 17. The performance metrics show a slight increase in the number of requests from attorneys and the judge for clarification on specific moments within recorded depositions, often related to the precise wording of a question or the context of a nonverbal cue. As a certified legal video specialist, how should you respond to these requests to maintain the integrity of the record and your professional role? Option A. Offer your professional opinion on the most likely intended meaning of the spoken words or the significance of the nonverbal cue, based on your observations during the deposition. Option B. Replay the specific segment of the video with the original audio and visual, and if further clarification is needed by the legal professionals, Advise them that the record is as captured and any interpretation of meaning or intent is their professional responsibility. Option C. Engage in a discussion with the judge and attorneys about the legal implications of the ambiguous statements and offer your perspective on how they might impact the case strategy. Option D. Suggest to the attorneys and judge that certain segments might be less critical and could be edited out of the final playback to streamline their review process. Correct answer is B. Replay the specific segment of the video with the original audio and visual, and if further clarification is needed by the legal professionals, advise them that the record is as captured and any interpretation of meaning or intent is their professional responsibility. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent tension between the need for accurate and comprehensive legal video recording and the potential for misinterpretation or omission of crucial information by different legal professionals. The Certified Legal Video Specialist, CLVS, must navigate these differing perspectives and responsibilities while maintaining strict adherence to procedural rules and ethical standards. The challenge lies in ensuring the video record accurately reflects the proceedings without becoming an advocate or interpreter for any party, a role that belongs to the attorneys and judge. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves the CLVS meticulously documenting all spoken words and actions as they occur, without embellishment, interpretation, or omission. This aligns with the CLVS primary duty to create an objective and verbatim record. The CLVS role is to be a neutral conduit for the proceedings, ensuring that the video serves as an accurate repository of evidence and testimony for the attorneys and the judge to review and utilize. This adheres to the fundamental principle of maintaining the integrity of the judicial record, which is paramount in legal proceedings. The CLVS is not tasked with assessing the legal significance of statements or the credibility of witnesses. That is the purview of the attorneys and the judge. Incorrect approach is analysis. One incorrect approach would be for the CLVS to proactively offer interpretations of statements or actions to the attorneys or judge, suggesting what a particular piece of testimony might mean legally or factually. This crosses the boundary of the CLVS role, encroaching upon the responsibilities of legal counsel and the court. It introduces bias and can mislead the parties, compromising the neutrality of the record. This violates the ethical obligation of the CLVS to remain an impartial observer and recorder. Another incorrect approach would be for the CLVS to selectively omit or downplay certain spoken words or actions that they believe are less relevant or might be embarrassing to a particular party. This is a direct violation of the duty to create a verbatim and complete record. The CLVS has no authority to make editorial decisions about the content of the proceedings. Such an action undermines the integrity of the evidence and can have severe legal consequences, potentially leading to mistrials or appeals. A third incorrect approach would be for the CLVS to engage in discussions with the judge or attorneys about the legal strategy or the merits of the case, offering opinions or advice. This is a clear breach of professional conduct. The CLVS expertise is in the technical and procedural aspects of legal video recording, not in legal argumentation or judicial decision-making. Such engagement creates a conflict of interest and compromises the CLVS impartiality. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach such situations by first understanding their defined role and responsibilities within the legal framework. The CLVS primary function is to capture an accurate and complete audio-visual record. When faced with ambiguity or differing interpretations, the CLVS should defer to the attorneys and the judge to clarify or address the substance of the proceedings. The CLVS should maintain a neutral stance, focusing on the technical execution of their duties and ensuring that the recording equipment functions correctly and captures all relevant audio and visual information. Any questions regarding the content or legal implications of the proceedings should be directed to the appropriate legal professionals, and the CLVS should avoid offering personal opinions or interpretations. The CLVS decision-making process should be guided by the principles of accuracy, impartiality, and adherence to established legal and ethical standards for court reporting and video recording. Question 18. Assessment of a certified legal video specialist's response to a client's instruction to edit out portions of a deposition deemed unnecessary by the client, without a court order or agreement from all parties, and considering the professional obligation to maintain an accurate and complete record. Option A. Refuse to edit the deposition and inform the client that the recording will be delivered as captured without alteration due to professional obligations to maintain an accurate and complete record. Option B. Edit the deposition as requested and then inform the opposing counsel that the recording has been edited to remove unnecessary parts. Option C. Proceed with the editing as requested by the client, assuming the client's judgment on what is unnecessary is sufficient. Option D. Edit the deposition as requested, but make a note in the metadata indicating that certain portions were removed at the client's instruction. The correct answer is C. Proceed with the editing as requested by the client, assuming the client's judgment on what is unnecessary is sufficient. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge for a certified legal video specialist, CLVS. Due to the inherent conflict between client instructions and the overarching need for accurate, unbiased record creation, CLVS must balance the client's desire for a specific outcome with their professional obligation to capture testimony faithfully, without manipulation or omission. This requires a nuanced understanding of ethical duties and the potential legal ramifications of deviating from best practices. The challenge lies in discerning when a client's request crosses the line from acceptable direction to an unethical or illegal instruction that compromises the integrity of the record. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach prioritizes the CLVS professional duty to create an accurate and complete record, adhering strictly to the rules of evidence and professional conduct. This involves understanding that the video recording is a verbatim representation of the proceedings and should not be altered or selectively presented at the direction of a party. The CLVS role is to capture the event as it unfolds, ensuring all relevant audio and video is recorded without bias. This aligns with the fundamental principles of evidence preservation and the integrity of the judicial process, which are implicitly supported by the standards expected of a CLVS. The CLVS must document all actions taken and communicate any concerns regarding instructions that could compromise the record's integrity to the appropriate legal counsel or court. Incorrect approaches analysis. Fulfilling the client's request to edit out unnecessary portions of the deposition without a court order or agreement from all parties represents a significant ethical and professional failure. This action directly violates the principle of creating an accurate and complete record. It introduces bias by selectively presenting testimony, which could mislead the court or opposing counsel. Such an action could lead to sanctions, disciplinary action from professional bodies, and potential legal liability for the CLVS. It undermines the trust placed in the CLVS to be a neutral observer and recorder. Another incorrect approach would be to proceed with the editing without documenting the client's request and the CLVS reservations. This lack of transparency is a failure to maintain proper professional records and can be interpreted as complicity in the attempt to manipulate the record. The CLVS has a duty to document all aspects of their work, especially when faced with potentially problematic instructions. Failing to question or seek clarification on the client's request, and instead proceeding with the editing based on a subjective interpretation of unnecessary, is also an incorrect approach. This demonstrates a lack of professional judgment and an abdication of the responsibility to ensure the integrity of the recording. The CLVS should not be the arbiter of what is legally relevant or unnecessary in a deposition. That determination rests with the attorneys and the court. Professional reasoning. Professionals in this field must adopt a decision-making process that begins with a thorough understanding of their ethical obligations and the rules governing legal proceedings. When faced with a client instruction that appears to conflict with these obligations, the first step is to pause and critically assess the request. This involves considering the potential impact on the accuracy and completeness of the record. If there is any doubt, professionals should seek clarification from the instructing attorney, explaining their concerns and referencing relevant professional standards or legal principles. If the attorney insists on an action that compromises the record, the CLVS should document the request and their refusal to comply, and if necessary, inform the court or opposing counsel through the appropriate legal channels. Maintaining open communication and a commitment to ethical conduct are paramount. Question 19. Comparative studies suggest that in a standard deposition room with moderate ambient noise, which microphone type is generally most effective for capturing clear and consistent audio of the deponent's testimony, minimizing the impact of room acoustics and background distractions? Option A. A lavalier microphone clipped to the deponent's clothing. Option B. A parabolic microphone placed across the room. Option C. A shotgun microphone positioned at the end of a boom pole. Option D. A handheld microphone held by the deponent. The correct answer is A. A lavalier microphone clipped to the deponent's clothing. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge for certified legal video specialists, CLVS, in ensuring clear and admissible audio evidence. The challenge lies in selecting the most appropriate microphone type for a specific deposition environment to capture testimony accurately while minimizing extraneous noise, thereby upholding the integrity of the record. Careful judgment is required to balance technical effectiveness with the practical constraints of the setting. The correct approach prioritizes capturing the deponent's voice with clarity and minimizing ambient distractions. A lavalier microphone, when properly placed on the deponent, offers a consistent and close proximity audio source, significantly reducing the impact of room acoustics and background noise. This direct capture method aligns with the CLVS ethical obligation to produce an accurate and complete record, as mandated by professional standards that emphasize the importance of clear audio for the transcript's fidelity and the video record's usability in legal proceedings. Adherence to these standards ensures the audio evidence meets the requirements for admissibility. An incorrect approach might involve using a shotgun microphone in a small, enclosed room. While shotgun microphones are designed for directional pickup, their effectiveness diminishes in confined spaces where reflections can cause phase issues and unwanted room tone. This could lead to a less clear recording of the deponent's voice and an increased presence of ambient noise, potentially compromising the audio quality and raising questions about the completeness and accuracy of the record. This failure to select the most suitable tool for the environment could be seen as a lapse in professional diligence, potentially impacting the admissibility of the deposition. Another incorrect approach could be relying solely on a handheld microphone placed at a distance from the deponent. This method is highly susceptible to variations in the deponent's voice projection and is prone to picking up a wide range of ambient sounds, including shuffling papers, HVAC systems, and distant conversations. Such a recording would likely lack the clarity and consistency required for a reliable legal record, potentially leading to transcription errors and challenges during review or in court. This demonstrates a failure to employ best practices for audio capture in a professional setting. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve a pre-deposition assessment of the environment, including room size, acoustics, and potential noise sources. Based on this assessment, the CLVS should select the microphone type that offers the best signal-to-noise ratio for the deponent's voice. This involves understanding the strengths and limitations of each microphone type, lavalier, shotgun, handheld, in various acoustic conditions. The decision should always prioritize the clarity and integrity of the audio record, ensuring it meets the standards for legal evidence and professional practice. Question 20. Market research demonstrates that ensuring the integrity of video recordings in legal proceedings is paramount for admissibility. A certified legal video specialist is tasked with recording a deposition. During the deposition, a witness becomes visibly distressed and begins to cry, momentarily pausing their testimony. The specialist, concerned about the emotional impact on the recording, considers briefly pausing the recording to allow the witness to compose themselves before resuming. What is the most appropriate course of action for the certified legal video specialist in this situation, adhering strictly to the CLVS Code of Ethics and relevant U.S. Federal Rules of Civil Procedure? Option A. Discreetly adjust camera angles to focus on other participants during the witness's emotional pause to avoid capturing the distress. Option B. Stop the recording entirely until the witness is ready to continue, then restart the recording and clearly state the time of the restart. Option C. Briefly pause the recording to allow the witness to regain composure, then resume recording and note the interruption in the log. Option D. Continue recording without interruption, ensuring the entire proceeding, including the pause in testimony and any emotional displays, is captured accurately and completely. The correct answer is D. Continue recording without interruption, ensuring the entire proceeding, including the pause in testimony and any emotional displays, is captured accurately and completely. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because the certified legal video specialist, CLVS, must balance the technical requirements of video recording with the stringent legal and ethical obligations of maintaining the integrity and admissibility of evidence. The core of the challenge lies in ensuring that the recording process itself does not introduce any bias, alteration, or compromise to the deposition testimony, which could render it inadmissible in court. Careful judgment is required to anticipate potential issues and proactively address them within the established regulatory framework. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes adherence to the CLVS Code of Ethics and relevant rules of civil procedure, specifically those governing the recording and preservation of depositions. This approach ensures that the video recording is an accurate and complete representation of the proceedings, free from any external influence or manipulation. By meticulously documenting all aspects of the recording process, including equipment used, settings, and any interruptions, the CLVS creates a verifiable chain of custody and a reliable record, thereby upholding the principles of fairness and due process. This aligns with the CLVS standard of ensuring the integrity of the record for legal proceedings. An incorrect approach that involves making subjective decisions about what constitutes important testimony to emphasize or omit during recording is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This directly violates the CLVS mandate to capture the entire proceeding without alteration or bias. Such actions could lead to the suppression of evidence, mistrials, and severe damage to the reputation of the legal professionals involved. Another incorrect approach, such as failing to properly label or secure the recording media, compromises the chain of custody, a fundamental legal requirement for evidence admissibility. This negligence can lead to questions about the authenticity and integrity of the recording, making it vulnerable to challenges in court. Furthermore, failing to adhere to specific court rules or local rules regarding video recording, such as notification requirements or the presence of specific personnel, constitutes a direct violation of procedural law, rendering the recording potentially inadmissible. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with a thorough understanding of the applicable rules of civil procedure, CLVS Code of Ethics, and any specific court orders or local rules governing the deposition. Before commencing any recording, the CLVS should confirm all parties are present and aware of the recording, verify equipment functionality, and establish clear communication protocols. Throughout the recording, continuous monitoring of audio and video quality is essential. Post-recording, meticulous labeling, secure storage, and accurate documentation of the entire process are paramount. Any deviations from standard procedure must be documented and, if possible, agreed upon by all parties present.